tensions between South Asia's two nuclear-armed neighbors, India and Pakistan, have surged to dangerous levels following a brutal terrorist attack in the Indian-administered region of Kashmir. The attack, which occurred on April 22, 2025, targeted a group of Hindu pilgrims in Pahal Gam, resulting in the deaths of 26 civilians. India swiftly blamed Pakistan-based militant groups, triggering a rapid chain of diplomatic, economic, and military escalations between the two countries. As the standoff intensifies, the world is watching with growing alarm. Experts warn that the current crisis carries a higher risk of full-scale war than any seen in recent years. The flashpoint emerged in the restive Kashmir Valley, a region disputed by both India and Pakistan since the 1947 partition. On April 22, gunmen opened fire on a convoy of unarmed Hindu tourists in Pahal Gam, a popular pilgrimage and vacation destination. Videos circulating online showed scenes of chaos and bloodshed, sparking national outrage in India. Indian authorities quickly attributed the attack to the Lashkar-e-Taiba, a banned militant group believed to operate from Pakistani soil. The government in New Delhi claimed to have intercepted communications linking the assailants to handlers across the border. Pakistan strongly denied any involvement, dismissing the accusations as baseless and politically motivated. In an immediate response to the attack, India took a series of punitive diplomatic actions. Among the most consequential was the suspension of the Indus Waters Treaty, a 1960 agreement that governs the shared usage of the Indus River system between India and Pakistan. Experts say the move threatens to upend decades of water-sharing cooperation and could have serious ecological and economic consequences for downstream communities in Pakistan. In addition, India announced the suspension of visa services for Pakistani citizens and implemented new trade restrictions. "We cannot allow the blood of our people to be cheapened," said Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a televised address. "Those who sponsor terror will pay a price." Pakistan responded by halting bilateral trade, recalling its envoy from New Delhi, and convening emergency military planning sessions. By early May, the standoff had escalated into open military confrontation. India launched aerial strikes deep into Pakistani territory, targeting what it described as terrorist infrastructure and training camps. These precision strikes, carried out by fighter jets and unmanned drones, marked one of the most aggressive Indian operations since the Balakot airstrike in 2019. Pakistan rejected the Indian narrative, stating that the airstrikes hit civilian zones, including residential buildings and a school in the Khyber Pakhtunkhwa region. Pakistani authorities reported dozens of civilian casualties and vowed a proportionate response. Soon after, both countries exchanged claims of shooting down each other's aircraft. The Indian Air Force claimed it had destroyed a Pakistani drone violating its airspace, while Pakistan's military said it had downed an Indian Su-30 fighter jet. Neither claim could be independently verified. On the ground, artillery fire along the line of control, LOC, intensified, displacing thousands of civilians and damaging homes and infrastructure on both sides. The escalation has led to a humanitarian crisis in the border regions of Jammu and Kashmir and northern Pakistan. Families have been forced to evacuate under shelling, and schools, hospitals, and markets have closed in several districts. Reports from local NGOs describe overwhelmed hospitals, food shortages, and families hiding in underground shelters. "We are terrified," said Farida Begum, a resident of Baramulla district in Indian Kashmir. "Every night we hear the shelling. We just want peace." Both governments have been criticized by international organizations for failing to prioritize civilian safety amid military actions. As the military rhetoric intensifies, so too does the threat of a broader conflict. Both India and Pakistan possess nuclear weapons, and their leaders have repeatedly emphasized the role of nuclear deterrence in their defense doctrines. Pakistan's defense minister warned that all options are on the table, while India's national security advisor stated that the country remains fully prepared to defend its people with every tool at its disposal. Analysts caution that while nuclear weapons are intended as deterrence, The possibility of miscalculation during high-stress periods increases the risk of accidental escalation. Even a limited nuclear exchange, they warn, would be catastrophic, not only for South Asia but for the entire world. The international community has responded with urgency. The United States, China, Russia, and several European nations have issued statements calling for immediate de-escalation. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken held separate calls with leaders in New Delhi and Islamabad, offering to mediate the conflict. China, which shares borders with both nations, urged restraint and dialogue, while the United Nations called for the resumption of bilateral talks and condemned acts of terrorism and retaliatory violence. Despite these efforts, diplomatic backchannels remain frozen, and public statements from both capitals suggest that neither side is willing to back down unilaterally. One of the defining features of the current confrontation is the use of modern warfare technology. Both sides have deployed surveillance drones, electronic warfare units, and precision-guided munitions. India recently demonstrated its Iron Fist missile defense system, while Pakistan showcased new indigenous drone strike capabilities. Military analysts note that while such technology increases operational effectiveness, it also accelerates the tempo of conflict, leaving little time for diplomatic intervention or public scrutiny. The battlefield is becoming faster and more complex, said Dr. Ramesh Chand, a strategic analyst at the Institute for Defense Studies and Analyses. That's deeply concerning when nuclear weapons are in play. Beyond the battlefield, the conflict is having a profound impact on both nations' economies and mental health. Stock markets in Mumbai and Karachi have seen sharp declines, trade routes are disrupted, and foreign investors are showing signs of withdrawal. Tourism in Kashmir, a vital economic lifeline, has collapsed. Small businesses near the border are reporting massive losses, while transport and agricultural supply chains have been cut off in some areas. In cities far from the front lines, the psychological weight of war is taking a toll. Anxiety, fear, and uncertainty dominate daily life. In both India and Pakistan,